The coffee mug shattered against the wall behind my head. I didn't flinch. I'd stopped flinching 3 months ago when this became routine. The ceramic exploded into a dozen pieces, brown liquid dripping down the cream-colored paint like dried blood. My sister Madison stood in the doorway of my home office, her face twisted in that familiar sneer I'd grown to hate. "Are you seriously still sitting there?" Her voice cut through the quiet hum of my laptop fan. "It's 2 in the afternoon, Emily. 2 in the afternoon." My name is Emily Carson, I'm 28 years old, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work from home in a house I bought with my own money, in a neighborhood I chose, living a life I built brick by brick. Or at least, I used to live that life. Now I'm not sure what this is anymore. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I'd been mid-sentence on a client proposal worth $15,000. The cursor blinked accusingly on the screen. "I'm working," I said quietly, keeping my eyes on the document. "Working." She laughed, sharp and cruel. "You call this working? You're in your pajamas, Emily. You haven't left this room in days. Mom and Dad are downstairs doing actual work, keeping this household running, and you're up here playing on your computer like some teenager." The smell of her perfume, too sweet and choking, filled my small office as she stepped closer. My dog, Bailey, a golden retriever who'd been sleeping under my desk, whined softly and pressed against my leg. Bailey was the only family member who actually seemed to like me anymore. "Bailey, come here." Madison snapped her fingers. "At least the dog needs exercise. Unlike you, you lazy cow." Bailey didn't move. She never did when Madison called. Before I go further, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I like to know how far my stories are reaching, and a like and subscribe means a lot to small channels like ours and will keep these stories coming. Now let's continue. The door slammed, but I knew she wasn't done. None of them were ever done. I saved my document and leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking beneath me. Through the window, I could see the garden I'd paid to have landscaped last spring. The roses were blooming red and white, their petals catching the afternoon light. Let me tell you how I got here, to this moment where my own sister throws things at my head in my own house. 2 years ago, I was living my dream. I'd saved every penny from my corporate design job for 5 years, lived in a tiny apartment with Bailey, ate ramen more nights than I care to admit, and finally bought this house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a small office, and a backyard where Bailey could run. It was mine. All mine. The mortgage was steep but manageable on my freelance income, which had grown steadily since I'd quit my soul-crushing corporate job. Then Dad called. His construction business had failed. "Bad investments," he said. They were losing their house. Could they stay with me? Just temporarily, just until they got back on their feet. I said yes. Because that's what family does, right? Mom cried when she moved in, thanking me over and over. Dad shook my hand and promised it would only be a few months. They took the master bedroom because Mom's back couldn't handle the smaller bed in the guest room. I moved my things into the smallest bedroom and said nothing. 6 months later, Madison showed up with 3 suitcases and red eyes. Her husband had cheated. She was devastated. Could she crash for a bit? I gave her the remaining guest room and thought, it's fine, it's temporary, family helps family. That was 18 months ago. Footsteps on the stairs now. Heavy ones. Dad. He filled my doorway with his broad shoulders and disappointed expression. The scent of motor oil clung to him, mixed with something else. Whiskey, maybe. It wasn't even 3 yet. "Your mother's crying again," he said without preamble. "Madison told her what you said this morning." "I didn't say anything this morning." "Don't lie to me, Emily. You told your sister she was a freeloader." "I told her I needed quiet to work. I have a deadline." His jaw tightened. The vein in his temple pulsed. visible even in the dim light of my office. You know what your problem is? You've forgotten what family means. We took care of you for 18 years. 18 years of food, shelter, clothes, everything. And now that we need a little help, you can't be bothered. My hands curled into fists beneath my desk where he couldn't see. The numbers ran through my head automatically. Mortgage, $3,000 a month. Utilities, $600. Groceries, $800, all of which they consumed while complaining about my food choices. Internet and phone, $200. Car insurance for Madison's car that I got added to my policy, $150. $46,000 a year. For 2 years. $92,000 of my life, my work, my sacrifice. And they called me lazy. I'm not asking you to leave, I said carefully, fighting to keep my voice level. I'm asking for respect. I work from home. I pay for everything here. I just need. His voice rose, and I could smell the whiskey stronger now. What about what we need? Your mother needs family support. Madison needs time to heal. And all you need is to sit in front of a screen pretending to be important. The proposal on my screen represented 3 weeks of work. The client was a Fortune 500 company. My freelance design business brought in $9,000 a month on average, sometimes more. I'd built it from nothing while working full-time, saved for 5 years to buy this house, created something stable and real. But he'd never asked about it. None of them had. To them, if you weren't physically exhausted and dirty at the end of the day, you hadn't really worked. Get a real job, Dad continued. Stop hiding in this room with that mutt and contribute to this family like an adult. Bailey growled. It was soft, barely audible, but Dad heard it. His eyes went cold in a way that made my stomach drop. That dog, he said slowly, is becoming a problem too. Maybe it's time we talked about finding it a new home. You can't even take care of yourself, let alone an animal. Something inside me went very still and very quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before lightning strikes. Through the window, clouds were gathering. Dark ones, pregnant with rain that hadn't fallen yet but would, soon, inevitable and cleansing. Bailey wasn't just my dog. She'd been with me through everything. Through the lonely nights building my business. Through panic attacks when I thought I'd never make it. Through the day I signed the papers on this house with shaking hands. She was the only one who loved me without conditions. I looked at my father, really looked at him, and saw a stranger wearing a familiar face. Get out of my office, I whispered. He blinked. What did you say? I said get out. His face turned purple. You ungrateful little brat. After everything we've... The sound of my mother's voice drifted up from downstairs, calling his name in that martyred tone she'd perfected. He jabbed a finger at me. We're not done with this conversation. You need to make a choice, Emily. This family or your selfish little fantasy life. You can't have both. And if you choose wrong, you can pack your bags and leave. Take that mutt with you. He left. The house settled into tense silence. I sat there, hand on Bailey's head, feeling her steady heartbeat through my palm. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison in the family group chat. Asterisk, maybe Em should just leave if she hates us so much. Take her precious dog and go. We'll manage without her freeloading off our home. Asterisk. Our home. Our home. I opened my desk drawer slowly, like I was defusing a bomb. Inside was a manila folder I kept but rarely looked at. The deed to the house. My name. Emily Catherine Carson. Only my name. The mortgage statements, all showing automatic payments from my business account. The property tax receipts with my signature. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. Asterisk, please don't tear this family apart, sweetie. We love you, but you need to be more mature about this. Asterisk. Then Dad. Asterisk. Final warning. Shape up or ship out. Your choice. Asterisk. I stared at those messages for a long time while the first drops of rain began to tap against my window like impatient fingers. Each word was a slap, but together they were something else. They were permission. They actually believed it. They actually thought this house was theirs. That I was the freeloader. That they were doing me some kind of favor by living here, eating my food, using my utilities, sleeping in my beds. My laptop screen had gone dark. When I moved the mouse, my reflection stared back at me from the black mirror before the document reappeared. I looked tired, pale, like a ghost haunting my own life. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Found the number I'd saved 6 months ago when a realtor had left his card in my mailbox, asking if I'd ever considered selling. My finger hovered over the call button. Bailey looked up at me with those brown eyes that always seemed to understand everything. What do you think, girl? I whispered. Should we? She licked my hand. I pressed call. Westside Realty, this is Garrett speaking. Hi, I said, my voice steady despite the hammering of my heart. My name is Emily Carson. I own a 3-bedroom house on Maple Street, and I need to list it for sale. How fast can you move? There was a pause. How fast do you need? Downstairs, I heard Madison's laugh, loud and mocking. Mom's voice joined in. They were talking about me, I knew. Planning their next attack. Deciding what punishment fit my crime of wanting basic respect in my own home. How does immediately sound? I asked. Garrett arrived at 7 the next morning with a briefcase, a measuring tape, and the kind of aggressive efficiency that told me he worked on commission. I'd been awake all night. Not from anxiety, which surprised me. I'd felt calm, almost weightless, like I'd finally set down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. Bailey and I had spent the dark hours packing my important documents, my hard drives, my equipment. Everything that mattered fit into 4 boxes. Funny how 2 years of life compressed so neatly. My family was still asleep when I let Garrett in through the front door. The house smelled like the dinner they'd ordered last night, pizza boxes still stacked on the coffee table that I'd bought. 3 empty wine bottles sat on the kitchen counter. They'd had a celebration of some kind without inviting me. Beautiful property, Garrett said, his voice low. I'd told him to be quiet. Told him my roommates didn't know yet. The lie tasted like copper on my tongue. Great bones, excellent location. I can have this sold in 2 weeks, maybe less. Market's hot right now. 2 weeks, I repeated, tasting the timeline. 14 days. Could be faster if you price it right. What are you thinking? I named a number. He smiled. That'll move it in 72 hours. My heart kicked against my ribs. Do it. He pulled out papers, and I signed them at my kitchen table while the coffee maker gurgled and the sunrise painted everything gold. His camera clicked as he photographed each room. I watched him work, this stranger cataloging my life, preparing to sell it to someone else. You seem like you're in a hurry, he observed, snapping a picture of the living room. Everything okay? Just ready for a change, I said. He nodded like he'd heard that before. We'll list it today. I'll schedule an open house for Sunday. That work. Today was Thursday. Sunday was 3 days away. 3 days before strangers would walk through this house, imagining their furniture where my family sat, their photos on walls where none of mine hung. Perfect, I said. He left at 8:15. I watched his car disappear down the street, then turned to find my mother standing in the kitchen doorway in her robe, her hair a gray tangle around her face. Who was that? She asked, suspicious. Someone about work, I said smoothly. Client meeting. She snorted. At 7 in the morning? Must be nice, making your own hours, doing whatever you want. I poured myself coffee and said nothing. The old Emily would have explained, defended, tried to make her understand. The new Emily, the one born somewhere in last night's darkness, just smiled. I'm making breakfast, Mom announced, moving toward the stove. Since nobody else does anything around here. She pulled out eggs and bacon from the refrigerator, ingredients I'd bought 2 days ago. I watched her crack 4 eggs into my pan, lay 6 strips of bacon in my skillet. She'd cook for 3. Never for 4. They'd stopped setting a place for me at family meals 6 months ago. Madison appeared next, already dressed, makeup perfect. Is that bacon? God, I'm starving. She looked at me. Don't you have work to do or something? Actually, I said, I was thinking of going out today. Bailey needs a long walk. Bailey always needs a walk, Madison muttered. That dog has more freedom than the rest of us. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Dad came down last, newspaper under his arm like this was still 1995. He grunted at me and sat at the head of the table. My table. The one I'd found at an estate sale and refinished myself. They ate breakfast. I drank my coffee and watched them like I was studying strangers at a coffee shop. Madison complained about her job search, how nobody appreciated her marketing degree. Mom talked about her book club, how Sheila had said the rudest thing. Dad read about sports and occasionally grunted. Not one of them asked about my day, my work, my life. I took Bailey and left. The real estate listing went live at noon. I was at a dog park 3 miles away when my phone buzzed with Garrett's text, asterisk, posted. Already have 2 inquiries. Asterisk. I threw Bailey's ball and watched her golden form streak across the grass. The sun felt warm on my face. Real. I'd forgotten what real felt like. By 3 p.m., Garrett had scheduled 5 showings for Friday. By 6 p.m., I had a plan. I came home to find Madison in my office, sitting at my desk, using my computer. What are you doing? The words came out sharp. She didn't even look guilty. My laptop's slow. I'm just checking my email. That's my work computer. My client files are on there. Oh my God, relax. I'm not going through your precious files. She rolled her eyes. You're so paranoid. I walked to the desk and closed the laptop. Get out. Excuse me. I said get out of my office. Her face flushed red. What is your problem lately? You've been such a bitch. Madison. My voice came out cold, controlled. Get out. She stood, shoving the chair back hard enough to hit the wall. You know what? Mom's right. You've changed. You used to be nice. Now you're just bitter and mean, and I feel sorry for you, Emily. I really do. Living up here alone with your dog, no friends, no boyfriend, no life. At least I'm trying to get back out there. On my dime, I thought. Her gym membership, her new clothes, her weekly nail appointments, all on the credit card I'd given her for emergencies. She stormed out. I locked the door behind her and checked my computer. She'd been in my email. My bank accounts. I could see it in the browser history she'd been too careless to clear. My hands shook as I changed every password. Everything. Bank, email, social media, cloud storage. I enabled 2-factor authentication on accounts that had it. I documented everything with screenshots and saved them to an external drive. Then I opened my banking app and did something I should have done 2 years ago. I removed Madison from my car insurance. I changed the grocery delivery password. I set up a new credit card that only I knew about. Small acts of taking back control. Each one felt like breathing after being underwater. Dinner that night was tense. They'd ordered Chinese food again, using the card I hadn't canceled yet. I sat with them at the table, eating orange chicken from my container, and listened to them talk. I'm thinking of repainting the living room, Mom said. That beige is so dated. Maybe a nice blue. That would look great, Madison agreed. We could make this place really nice if we put some effort in. Would need new curtains too, Dad added. These are falling apart. They were planning renovations to my house with my money, and not one of them thought to ask me. Actually, I said quietly, I like the beige. They all looked at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. Well, you don't have to live with it, Madison said. We're here all day. We should get a say. It's my house, I said. The table went silent. The air felt thick, dangerous. What did you say? Mom's voice was ice. I said it's my house. My name on the deed. My mortgage payment. My decision. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. Are you serious right now? We're your family, Emily. Family doesn't pull rank like that. Family also doesn't call each other lazy freeloaders, I said. Family doesn't threaten to get rid of each other's dogs. Family doesn't move in temporarily and then act like they own the place. Madison laughed, but it was shrill. Oh my God, are you still on that? We were just trying to motivate you, Emily. You're so sensitive. Motivate me. I set down my fork carefully. By telling me to pack my bags and leave my own house? That's not what we meant, Mom said quickly. You're twisting everything. We love you, sweetie. We're just worried about you. Then Dad sent a text saying I should ship out, I continued. His words. Ship out. Dad's face turned red. You're taking that out of context. I was angry. You were being disrespectful. And you, I turned to Madison, texted that you'd manage without me freeloading off our home. Your exact words. I was upset. Madison's voice rose. You'd been horrible to me all day. I asked you for quiet so I could work. You're always working. You never spend time with us anymore. Because every time I do, you criticize me. Bailey started barking downstairs, sensing the tension. Mom stood up, her chair scraping harsh against the floor. I will not sit here and be attacked in my own home, she said, her voice trembling with manufactured hurt. We gave up everything to raise you, Emily. Everything. And this is how you repay us? With accusations and attitude. This isn't your home, I said quietly. It's mine. The words hung in the air like smoke. Dad stood up slowly. He was a big man, and he knew how to use his size to intimidate. You need to check yourself, little girl. Right now. Or what? I met his eyes. You'll kick me out of my own house? His hand slammed on the table, making the plates jump. Enough. I don't know what's gotten into you, but it stops now. You will apologize to your mother and sister, and we're going to forget this conversation happened. I stood up too, grabbing my phone. There's an open house here on Sunday. Garrett from Westside Realty will be showing the property from 1 to 4 p.m. I suggest you all be out during that time. The color drained from Mom's face. What are you talking about? I'm selling the house, I said. It listed today. Already have multiple showings tomorrow. The explosion was immediate and spectacular. All three of them started shouting at once. Mom burst into tears. Dad called me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Madison screamed that I couldn't do this, that it was illegal, that she'd call a lawyer. I walked to my office with Bailey at my heels, locked the door, and put in my headphones. I turned on music loud enough to drown out the pounding on my door, the shouted threats, the sound of my mother's theatrical sobbing. My phone lit up with texts. Dozens of them. From all three of them. Then from extended family members they'd clearly called to recruit to their side. Aunt Carol, asterisk, your mother is devastated. How could you? Asterisk. Uncle Mike, asterisk, family takes care of family, Emily. Shame on you. Asterisk. Cousin Jennifer, asterisk, wow. Just wow. Your parents gave you everything. Asterisk. None of them knew the truth. None of them had asked for my side. They'd heard my family's version, the one where I was the villain, and they believed it instantly. I blocked them all. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emily Carson? A woman's voice, professional. Yes. This is Detective Sarah Chen with the police department. I'm calling about a wellness check request we received. Your family is concerned about your mental state. They say you're making irrational decisions and they're worried you might hurt yourself or others. May I ask you some questions? My blood ran cold. They'd called the police. They'd actually called the police and told them I was mentally unstable. I stared at my phone, Detective Chen's voice still in my ear, waiting for my answer. Ma'am? Are you there? I'm here, I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. And I'm perfectly fine. My family is upset because I'm selling my house. The house that I own. They've been living here rent-free for 2 years, and they don't want to leave. There was a pause. So you're not in any danger? You're not planning to harm yourself or anyone else? The only thing I'm planning is to pack my belongings and move out of my own house before it sells. I took a breath. Detective, would you like to see the deed? The mortgage statements? I can prove this is my property. Another pause, longer this time. That won't be necessary. I'm required to do a visual wellness check. I'm actually outside your house now. Can you come to the door? My heart pounded. I looked out my office window and saw the police cruiser in my driveway. My family had really done it. They'd weaponized the police against me. I'll be right down, I said. I opened my office door to find all three of them standing in the hallway. Mom's eyes were red and puffy. Dad's arms were crossed. Madison looked triumphant. The police are here, Mom said weakly. Because we're worried about you, sweetie. You're not acting like yourself. Move, I said. I walked past them, Bailey at my side, and opened the front door. Detective Chen was a small Asian woman, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Her partner, a tall black man whose nameplate read Officer Williams, stood slightly behind her. Ms. Carson? Detective Chen asked. That's me. She studied my face. May we come in? Of course. I led them to the living room where my family clustered together on the couch like refugees, holding each other. Mom was actually crying. The performance was impressive. Ms. Carson, Detective Chin said, your family called because they're concerned you're having a mental health crisis. They say you're trying to sell their house out from under them and that you've been behaving erratically. They're worried you might be a danger to yourself. May I show you something? I asked. I pulled up my banking app on my phone, showed her the mortgage payments, all in my name. Then I showed her the deed I'd photographed. Then the property tax receipts. This house is mine, I said calmly. I bought it 3 years ago. My parents asked to stay temporarily 2 years ago when they lost their house. My sister moved in 18 months ago after her divorce. I never charged them rent. I pay for everything, mortgage, utilities, food, everything. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer and make around $9,000 a month. Detective Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. They've been calling me lazy, I continued, telling me to get a real job. Yesterday, my father threatened to get rid of my dog and told me to ship out. My sister texted that I should leave our home and stop freeloading. So I decided to sell. It's my legal right. Officer Williams was writing in a notebook. Detective Chin looked at my family. Is this accurate? She asked them. Dad stood up. The house might be in her name, but we've been maintaining it. I've done repairs, landscaping, everything. We have equity here. Did you pay for these repairs? Detective Chen asked. Well, no, but… Did you contribute to the mortgage, utilities, or other expenses? Dad's jaw worked. We're family. We don't nickel and dime each other. So that's a no, Detective Chen said. She turned to Mom. Ma'am, do you have any documentation showing you have a legal claim to this property? Mom sobbed harder. She's my daughter. We raised her. We sacrificed everything for her. That's not what I asked. Madison stood up now. This is ridiculous. You're taking her side? She's clearly unstable. Who sells their family home with 3 days' notice? Someone who owns it, Officer Williams said quietly. Detective Chen looked at me again. Ms. Carson, are you safe? Do you feel threatened? Honestly, I met her eyes. Yes, they've been verbally abusive for months. They threw a coffee mug at my head yesterday. They threatened my dog. And now they've tried to convince the police I'm mentally ill because I won't let them keep living in my house for free. She's lying. Madison shrieked. We never threw anything. There's a coffee stain on my office wall, I said. And ceramic pieces in my trash can. You're welcome to look. Detective Chen nodded slowly. I think I have enough information. Ms. Carson, you're clearly not a danger to yourself or others. You're making a legal decision about your own property. She turned to my family. Folks, I understand you're upset, but filing a false police report is a crime. Ms. Carson has every right to sell her house. I suggest you start looking for alternative housing. This is insane. Dad's voice boomed. You're going to let her throw her own family on the street? I'm going to let a homeowner make decisions about her property, Detective Chen said firmly. If you continue to harass her or interfere with the sale, she can file for a restraining order. Do you understand? The room went silent. After the police left, my family stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. I can't believe you, Mom whispered. I can't believe you'd humiliate us like that. You called the police on me, I said. You tried to have me declared mentally unfit. We were worried, she insisted. You were worried about losing your free ride. Dad stepped forward, and for a moment I thought he might actually hit me. But Bailey growled, low and dangerous, and he stopped. You're dead to me, he said. All of you are witnesses. As of right now, I have no daughter. Good, I said. Then you won't mind leaving my house. They went upstairs. I heard doors slamming, muffled shouting. I didn't care anymore. Friday's showings went better than expected. Garrett called at 8 p.m., excited. Emily, I have an offer. Cash. Full asking price. They want to close in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 14 days. There's one condition, Garrett continued. They want the house empty. Completely empty. Done, I said. Tell them yes. That night, I told my family. Mom actually fainted. Dad punched a hole in the wall, my wall, the one I'd have to repair before closing. Madison screamed that I was ruining her life. You have 14 days, I said. Find somewhere else to live. We don't have money for a deposit. Madison yelled. Where are we supposed to go? You have a job, I said. Mom, you have retirement savings. Dad, you have skills. figure it out like I did. The next 2 weeks were warfare. They stopped speaking to me entirely, communicating only through hostile notes left on the kitchen counter. They ate all the food and didn't replace it. They used every dish and didn't wash them. Small, petty acts of revenge. I didn't care. I'd already moved on. I found a small apartment across town, 2 bedrooms, one for me and one for my office. Pet-friendly. The rent was $1,500 a month, less than half my old mortgage. I'd be saving money. I packed systematically. My clothes, my equipment, my books. Everything that was actually mine. It wasn't much. On moving day, I hired movers who emptied my bedroom and office in 3 hours. My family watched from the living room, sitting on furniture I'd bought, eating pizza from my last credit card charge. I saved the final moment for last. I stood in my empty office, Bailey beside me, and looked at the coffee stain on the wall. The stain that had started everything. "Goodbye," I whispered to the house. "You were supposed to be my dream." I walked downstairs one last time. My family sat there, boxes half-packed around them, reality finally sinking in. "The closing is in 3 days," I said. "The new owners want to do a final walkthrough. I suggest you be out by then." "Where are we supposed to go?" Mom asked, and for the first time, she sounded genuinely scared, not manipulative. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But that's not my problem anymore." "Emily," Dad said, and his voice cracked. "Please. We're your family." "Family doesn't treat each other like you treated me," I said. "Family doesn't call the police and claim mental illness. Family doesn't throw things and make threats. You taught me that being family means sacrifice. So I sacrificed. For 2 years I sacrificed, and you called me lazy for it." "We made mistakes," Mom whispered. "We can change." "Maybe," I said, "but you'll do it somewhere else." I walked out of that house with Bailey and didn't look back. 3 days later, Garrett called. "The closing went through. Congratulations, Emily. You just made a $200,000 profit." I sat in my new apartment, sun streaming through windows that were mine and only mine, and laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in 2 years. My phone buzzed. "Madison, asterisk, where are we supposed to live?" "Mom and Dad are staying in a motel. I'm on a friend's couch. You did this to us. Asterisk." I typed back, asterisk, you did this to yourselves. You had 2 years to save money, to contribute, to treat me with basic respect. You chose not to. Enjoy the consequences. Asterisk. Then I blocked her number. Another text came in, this one from Garrett. Asterisk, by the way, the buyers want to know who did your landscaping. The garden is beautiful. Asterisk. I smiled. I did it myself, I typed back. Tell them to water the roses twice a week. Bailey jumped on the couch beside me, her head in my lap. My laptop sat open on the coffee table, a new project already in progress. The client had loved my proposal. $15,000 for 3 weeks of work I actually enjoyed. Outside my window, I could hear kids playing, life happening, the world moving forward. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. Asterisk, this is your father. I'm using someone else's phone because you blocked me. I just want you to know that you've destroyed this family. Your mother is heartbroken. Madison is homeless. I hope you're happy with yourself. I hope the money was worth it. Asterisk. I looked at those words for a long moment. Then I typed back. Asterisk, the money is nice. But what's really worth it? My peace. My self-respect. My life back. The house was never what I lost. It was myself. And I finally found her again. Don't contact me again. Asterisk. I blocked that number too. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up my banking app, and looked at the number there. $200,000, plus my regular income, plus my freedom. I'd lost a house but gained my life. And honestly, it was the best trade I'd ever made. Bailey barked, wanting her evening walk. I grabbed her leash, locked my apartment, my sanctuary, my space that no one could take from me, and we stepped out into the cool evening air. Somewhere across town, my family was dealing with consequences they'd spent 2 years earning. But that wasn't my story anymore. This was. And it was just beginning.